The new definition of pick me is not what it used to be, but rather it is something which I do not like. Anything that I don't like is a pick me. Hi everyone, I welcome you all to the first and proper episode of Arrietty in Totoro restaurant, where I serve tea with my voice and we all can be free to discuss topics here. We can share our opinions and just talk about things both conventional and unconventional. And in today's episode, I would like to talk about what exactly is a pick me. So, the reason why I decided to talk about this is because in recent months, we all can see that there is a surge in the usage of the term pick me wherever you say it, be it on Instagram Reels, where a woman or a girl is just going about her day. Maybe she's sharing part of her skincare routine or her hair care routine, and then suddenly somebody who does not like it will just go on and use the term, oh, what a pick me. A woman who is conventionally attractive and knows it. A woman who is confident in herself. A woman who rejects any advances from men and she gets a lot of male attention, but like she keeps rejecting it. Or just being a female can get you called a pick me. Someone hates you, you're a pick me. Someone dislikes the way you eat, you are a pick me. But how did this term reach a point of such casual usage? That is what we are going to cover in today's video, where we are going to discuss the origin of this term, its history, and how it is doing today, and why it is inherently so misogynistic, and we should know before we use such terms. So, what exactly is a pick me? A pick me is a slang term for a person, usually a young woman, seen as behaving in a contemptible way for attention and approval, usually from male peers. It is most often used in the expression pick me girl, which disparages a young woman who is seen as faking interest in stereotypically male activities or conforming to traditional values at the expense of other women. It is also used in pick me boy, referring to a young man who feigns emotional vulnerability to win the attention of women. More generally, pick me can refer to anyone thought to be trying too hard to earn acceptance, according to the Merriam Webster Dictionary. Now, coming to its origin, well, while its exact origin is unknown, but the first usage of the term can be traced back to the show Grey's Anatomy, which I have not personally seen, but according to my research, in one episode of Grey's Anatomy, Meredith Grey was seen begging Derek Shepherd to choose her over his wife. And that very scene went extremely popular, where she can be seen saying, pick me, choose me, love me. Then in 2016, the term gained traction online on Twitter, where black women you started parodying such behaviors by using the term pick me, where they tweet like a pick me. Now, coming to modern social media usage, the term gained traction again in 2022 in TikTok, where trends started going around where girls and even men would start parodying such behaviors, which traditionally fall under the term of pick me, and those videos made millions and millions of views. So originally, if the term was meant for women who tried to gain validation at the expense of other women, for example, having an affair with a married man knowingly, then why have we reached a point today where we use the word like we use now? We've basically reached a stage where any girl who does not like activities that are viewed to be or that are perceived to be traditionally masculine, or prefers such activities over the ones which are perceived as traditionally feminine, will get called a pick me. Why? Solely because their interest or preferences is something else, or because they are supposed to be men's activities. Now, it is only perceived as traditionally masculine. I do not believe there is any such thing as men's activities or women's activities. I believe everyone should be able to do whatever they want or like. So, yeah, at this point, if a woman does anything which is unique to her personality trait, for example, let's say that I have started this channel and I'm speaking on this platform, and with, let's say, the username of this channel that I've kept. This username is unique, right? It is unique to me. It is something I came up with. So now I might as well get called a pick me because somebody doesn't like it, and now they have to take out their inner frustration by calling me certain terms. And the most popular one in current trend is the word pick me. We are basically pitting women against each other by letting just people use such words whenever and however they want without even knowing its true meaning, which we just discussed. So there are certain things to be noted here. The first one is that when people use such words, it's mostly stemming from their own insecurities. Like, because this is, I would say, a very passive aggressive behavior, and where you just go around, you're using your phone, you're lying on your bed and you're using your phone, and then you come across a reel, and then something in it triggered you. Oh, maybe the woman in the reel is too pretty, like conventionally too pretty, or maybe she's not pretty enough, but then she's getting attention from people, maybe mostly males or just people. Then there are people who are just showing their skincare routines. That is most common I've seen with men who do skincare. And then other men, they go around calling those men like, oh my god, look at it, what a pick me. Oh, have the women picked you yet? Well, I would pick such a man. I would definitely pick a man who takes care of himself. Now let's leave that topic for another day. We shall cover it under men's grooming topics. So yeah, the first is this hidden insecurity. When you see something so pretty and you feel like, I can never be her. It's like your subconscious telling you, threatening you that, oh my god, this person is just doing their thing, they're confident, something I can never do. So let me just take out my frustration by calling them names or just trying to shade them in certain ways. And the second is internalized misogyny when it comes to women, and just outright pathetic behavior when it comes to men. Because guess who enjoys this entire show of women fighting each other? Men. They always profit, and they always like when women fight each other. And we are doing that very well now. Now, I will give you two example scenarios with the same example, the same base example, and I would like to ask you to choose which do you feel shows the definition of a pick me. Girl A says, hey, I like driving cars, I like playing sports, and I like playing video games. I like hanging around with my boys, and I don't really like makeup. I am just not into that stuff. This is girl A. And then we have girl B who says, oh yeah, I like hanging out with the boys, I can never be friends with a girl.
अबे भाई तुम कितना भी इस बात को झुटला लो, लेकिन बात सच्ची ये है कि ब्रदरहुड इज दी ओनली हुड एग्जिस्टिंग. देर इज नो सच हुड लाइक सिस्टरहुड, क्योंकि होता ही नहीं है. तेरी मेरी गांड जलना, उसने मेरा देख कर पहन लिया, लौड़ा हो गया, लहसुन हो गया, ये चलता ही रहता है भाई लड़कियों में. लौंडों में जो एक होता ना, तू भाई है, तू भाई है, वो भाई लड़कियों में नहीं आता यार. इसलिए अपने दोस्ती सारे लौंडे हैं भाई, मेरी बनती नहीं. फक ब्रो. अब मुझे बोलेंगे ले ली वैलिडेशन, ले ली भाई, फिर क्या कर लेगी, ले ली. लौंडे दोस्त अपने, फिर दिक्कत है.
I'm into sports. I like driving cars and bikes. Like I can never, like I'll never understand how girls go around spending so much time in front of the mirror, dolling themselves up and stuff. Like that can never be me. So yeah, now if we see, then these two are practically the same scenario, but there is a very sharp difference in the tone, and not only in the tone or even in the in the way that the words were phrased, and the sentences like, that can never be me, I can never be friends with a girl, or things like, I do not understand how someone can do this, basically speaking in a condescending manner. I'm pretty sure if you're smart enough, then you would have already figured out that which falls under the definition of a pick me, and which girl is just trying to express her likes and dislikes, not at the expense of anyone, not even herself, not even others. She is just who she is, truly. Now, for the people who might think that even girl A is a pick me, I would just like to ask you a certain question. What exactly led you to even think or consider that girl A is also a pick me? Wasn't she just expressing her likes and dislikes? Now, how about you go around telling that, hey, I like makeup and all, I don't like sports and stuff? Then what if I go around calling you a pick me? That, oh, why doesn't she like sports? You know what? I like sports. She must like sports too. Why? Because I like something, and her not liking what I like is bothering me. So she is a pick me. because that is the same logic that you people use when you go around calling others these words, only for the simple reason that they are just different from you. You see, there are different people everywhere. People, you're different from me, I'm different from you, I'm different from everyone else is different from me. So I believe we all should be able to respect each other and just be accommodating of our differences, and just know before starting fights with random people on the internet. And then I would also like to ask you, that is, if you've ever gone around calling someone a pick me because just for the sole purpose of jumping on the trend, or because you just thought it would be cool to do so, or for whatever reason. Have you ever tried asking yourself, why did I do that? What is it in that particular reel that I saw that triggered me to the point where I felt like calling them certain thing would make me feel better? Why is it that someone who's just saying that they like, let's say, horse riding, and I'm someone who is not only not into horse riding, but I'm also someone who doesn't exercise. Now, maybe have you tried asking yourself that maybe it's because you wish you were in their position, like you really wish that you were them, and deep down you know that in your current circumstances it may not be possible due to a variety of reasons individual to your own, and this is why you just went around calling someone names and calling someone a pick me. And there's another trend where I see that a girl is a complete girl's girl and whatnot, but the moment she sees her boyfriend's like on a reel, and let's say the reel is maybe showing maybe it's a thirst trap, or maybe just a girl just going about her day again, basically a conventionally attractive woman, let's say. And then suddenly the girl who is a girl's girl is experiencing sort of this jealousy, and then instead of going off on her boyfriend, she decides to just kind of like pounce through the internet on this girl, like on a random stranger. Why? Because she didn't like the fact that her man was giving attention through his like to an online person. Now, this is also another topic which we will cover later in a different video, where basically it's never the girl's fault, it's never any girl's fault, but it's rather the man's fault. Like, it's your man's fault, it's not the girl's fault. So maybe just stop dating that damned man. So yeah, maybe just ask yourself, like, where did the criticism come from? Like, where where exactly is it that you felt threatened to your core by seeing someone just exist, just live their day-to-day life, and then you just couldn't bear it? And coming to this criticism point, well, there are certain things where we do need criticism, definitely. For example, you see, there are things that when celebrities do, or when famous people do, and then everyone has like a fan base. So fans are naturally protective of their favorite people or their idols and stuff. And then let's say that the said idol has done something very questionable. A very basic example I would like to give is how these male K-pop stars often get involved in, not only K-pop stars, but there's K-drama actors and whatnot. They get involved in sexual assault scandals and whatnot. And then anyone, like a girl, let's say the girl was herself a fan before, and now she's just leaving the fandom, and she is even speaking out on the matter, then suddenly a bunch of people from that very same fandom, who I would just say they are basically just it's like a cult. They are basically part of a cult, and they've lost any sense of self. Their sense of self is completely attached to their celebrity. So then they will go around calling the one person who criticized their idol a pick me. Not only pick me, but also many, many, many other names. So yeah, while we're on this topic, I would like to also talk about how your idols or the people you admire can also be wrong, and there's nothing wrong in that. But when they do something wrong, and then you need to criticize them, you need to bring them to reality, so that maybe in future they can stop themselves from making such mistakes. And when people are critiquing those things, then they are not pick me just because they are criticizing. There is a valid ground of criticism on that. The examples I gave you, for example, someone liking something and you calling them a pick me just for liking them, that is so illogical and invalid. When there are valid grounds, then it is just different. This is it. The new definition of pick me is not what it used to be, but rather it is something which I do not like. Anything that I don't like is a pick me. Anything that bothers me is a pick me. Anything that does not fall under my capability of achievement is a pick me. lol, I'm actually worried. What if like a toddler goes off, pissing somebody off, and then that person just ends up calling the toddler a pick me because the toddler pissed them off? Or by that logic, let's say that you got your toes stubbed on the door, and then what? Are you going to call the door a pick me? Because that is how absurd people are sounding these days. Like, just go through the reels, man. At this point, I cannot even open Instagram. I cannot even breathe or scroll freely through reels without at least a single comment on a really nice person's comment section calling them a pick me. Why? Solely because maybe they're just too nice. Coming to the second point that I discussed earlier, so we have to realize that we have come so far in terms of fighting for women's rights, being with each other, supporting girls, and whatnot. And yes, I absolutely believe in calling a woman out when she is speaking against other women on invalid grounds, or, basically people who go, for example, just the people we discussed. A random woman goes around calling everyone a pick me because she is unsatisfied or unhappy with her own life. We should call people like that out. But at the same time, we have to realize that this term led to an entire sort of like a war scenario between women. As if women were not already tired from fighting for their rights, we have reached a point where now it's doubting women all the time. It's like women have started doubting their closest friends just because certain behaviors that they do are now being circulated in some sort of parody videos being portrayed as a pick me, but they are not. And I will give you some example scenarios. But before that, this entire thing, like I said, it is internalized misogyny. Like, you do realize how harmful this is, right? If I could, I would honestly want this term to just not exist, but at the same time, I do understand that we need terminologies to describe certain people or situations. I do get that. But when something gets out of hand to the point where people start turning against their own people, like young girls commenting on reels, saying stuff like, oh, my best friend talks in a cute voice all the time around me and my boyfriend, and just in general also. So yeah, is she a pick me? She must be a pick me. Oh, my sister does this, my this so and so does this. So like, at the end of the day, we are not the ones with tea in our hands. Now, I am having it, but at the end of the day, it is men with tea in their hands enjoying and profiting from our drama. When did we go from fighting for each other to just bringing each other down again? Like I said, let's take certain examples to understand what exactly is a pick me and what is not. Say a girl has only male friends. Is she a pick me? No. But if she has only male friends and she looks down on female friendships and she says things like, oh, I can never understand how women support each other. Oh, women are women's worst enemy. Oh, I can never be friends with a girl. She's always my hidden enemy, or stuff like that. Then she is a pick me. Then a girl does not like makeup. Cool, she is not a pick me. Not every woman has to like makeup. I like makeup, but just because I like makeup doesn't mean that you have to like makeup or someone else has to like makeup. It is their life, it is their choice. But if she goes around saying, I don't like makeup and I never understand why girls do so much, how they can do this, oh my god, they just want men's attention, that's why they do it. I can never. This is why men are nice because, men don't do makeup, they're so natural and stuff. That is a pick me. And now, coming to this one example I see, because I saw actually a lot of creators reels on, when they made parody videos, especially Indian creators I'm talking about. Now, I'm not going to attach the clips that I saw here because, let's just leave it be. But I'm pretty sure you must have come across reels where a very common trait of pick me girls that they like to show is when a woman talks in a high pitched voice or in a baby voice or in a sweet voice. So, as much as I can sort of understand if someone gets irritated by a baby like voice used in public spaces or with everyone, you have to understand that just because they do that, it doesn't mean that they are a pygmy. Like I said, a pygmy is someone who will bring you down just to make themselves look better. For example, a teacher's pet, they will literally bring everyone down in the class just to make themselves appeal more to the teacher, to be picked by the teacher. So in this thing, I actually have a friend who has sort of like a baby voice and she has a trauma associated with it. Like, there are reasons why certain people speak in certain ways. And even if it's done to get male validation or female validation or just validation in general, what is it to you even, as long as she is not bringing you down, as long as they are not sort of like going after you and then trying to um show themselves as better, as long as you are not affected in any way. Why does it bother you? Why does it bother you that someone speaks in a voice that does not fall in your capacity to hear, or does not fall in your desirable talking voices? Then I don't know, maybe just don't hang around with them. That's it, solves the problem. Or maybe tell them that, hey, can you maybe try to talk in a different way? But then that would just be basically like asking them to change for you, which is something I would not recommend, really. Like I said, we have to be accepting of individual differences. Because like I said, I do understand sometimes it can get annoying when people don't talk in normal voices, or they start using the sort of voices that are traditionally used with someone's partner, or in front of a child, like when you talk to a toddler. So yeah, it can get irritating, I understand. But that does not give you the right to bring someone else down, or make videos where over exaggerate, or sort of like make like a hyper unrealistic scenario where someone talks like and then just because they do that, that is a pick me. I don't know, I've just seen many creators do this, and it gets on my nerves every single time, because why are you bothered? Don't hang around with them, it's that simple. So yeah, to be a pick me, we have learned that there needs to be an interaction of two variables at play. One is validation, male, female, whatever validation, and the other is you need that validation at the expense of bringing someone else down. So when this looking down and this validation, when these two factors are at play together, that person is a pick me. But if we take the if we take the this one variable out of the equation, which is the variable of looking down or bringing someone else down, I generally do not think it is a pick me. It can in fact be just someone trying to impress their crush, even if it's in front of other people. Let's say you have a friend in your group whose voice suddenly changes when their crush enters the room. Well, they're not trying to outshine anyone or just bring someone else down. They're literally just trying to get their crush's attention, which is natural human nature. You would always want to be liked or wanted or loved or picked by the person you are of your desire, right? The absence of any of the two variable here is something I believe which does not fall in the definition of a pick me. It has to, both the variables need to be at play and present and interact well. Only then it is a pick me. So that's it. I just wanted you all to know what exactly it is. We learned its history and how it came into existence, and why we should be more aware of terminologies before just throwing them around. Because, in the smaller picture, it may not seem as harmful, but in the bigger picture, this is literally ruining people's mental health. Girls are going to the rooms and crying just because their friend group is trying out makeup, and there's this one girl who does not like makeup, and but she's getting called the pick me because she doesn't like makeup. Now she feels outcasted, so naturally she will want to hang out with the boys more. Naturally she will go out and hang out with the boys, and then she may or may not like there. But what eventually happens is she's very lucky if that's a good friend group, but if it is not, which most likely happens, she will end up being the victim of misogyny, and then she will end up becoming a perpetrator of misogyny someday. And the those girls who are now young and who call them a pick me, well, they might as well go on to have some character development, because you grow a lot through female friendships. But then what about the girl? What about that one girl you all outcasted one time in your childhood? Do you all take no responsibility for that? So yeah, let's all just be mindful and more respectful before using terms, and let's spread this word around. Share this video, like and subscribe if you like my content, and stay here for more such updates and more such discussions, which are not only relevant in today's day and era, but some certain topics which I'm going to discuss in the future are going to be a bit unconventional, or some things that people don't really talk about out loud. Because this is what I want my space to be able to talk about things. Yeah, that's it for the video. Hope you liked it. Bye bye. Now, somebody might as well call me a pick me because they don't like the way I'm eating my biscuit right now. Sorry, I'm eating my cookie right now. Or even by the fact that I'm eating, because we hate women, and why should women eat right?